You've likely noticed you're seeing a lot more political ads on TV lately, and no surprise, that's only going to continue with less than 100 days until the November election. In tonight's Capital Connection, CBS 58's Emily Fannin and WISP Politics editor J.R. Ross discuss the spending on ads as Vice President Kamala Harris is set to visit our state next week.
We begin this week with the dueling campaign ads that we're seeing here in Wisconsin and other battleground states from Vice President Kamala Harris and former President Donald Trump, as their campaigns have both really had this reset button ever since President Joe Biden dropped out of the race a few weeks ago. So from the former president, he has been attacking Kamala Harris on the border, accusing her of an increase in migrants. When you look at the data, JR, it actually border crossings have been on the decline ever since 2020, but he still is going to issue that we're going to continuously hear about from Republicans who say, well, regardless of the data, we don't think Democrats are doing enough to stop that. On the other hand, we see Harris and her campaign ads. The first one that hit Wisconsin was called Fearless, and it's really talking about her time as a prosecutor and trying to tout some of her accomplishments in the Biden administration. Going forward, what's going to be curious of how much more money is spent here in the state, but also is that message of attacking Harris on the border and Harris trying to define herself, is it going to resonate with voters in the weeks ahead?
Look, the presidential race has really begun actually in Wisconsin finally. I know it's weird to say in August, but Joe Biden, before he dropped out, according to Ad Impact, who subscribed to his politics, has spent like $28 million in Wisconsin, him and his allies, on ads. The pro-Trump side, like $1.5 million. There wasn't really a messaging from Republicans, and even so, Donald Trump was even or ahead in most polls we saw in Wisconsin. Talking to Democrats, they were fearful of, okay, what's going to happen when Trump starts to spend in Wisconsin if it's going like this now? Well, now Biden's not in the race anymore, it's Harris. The race is who can find Kamala Harris first and under their terms. So obviously Harris wants to say she's prepared for the job, former prosecutor, she's got a plan for the border, abortion rights, all these things that she thinks work with voters. Trump wants to define her as weak on crime, poor prosecutor, part of the bad things the Biden administration did in his mind. So who can get that message through first in a meaningful way? Looking at the polls post-Biden decision, there's been some movement. It's not like outside the margin of error, but enough to say, okay, there's an enthusiasm there for Democrats they didn't have before with Biden. There's something going on. Is it a sugar high, though? Is it something that's temporary because there's this rush of positive attention for Harris? Can she sustain it now? We'll see a Marquette poll next week. We've seen a couple of polls already. They at least have her more liked than Joe Biden. Granted, not a very high bar to cross where he'd been at before, but it gives Democrats hope this race is at least even. And they feel like, okay, she may not win Wisconsin or nationally, but if she keeps it even, we've got a chance to win the Senate race in Wisconsin. We've got a chance to flip the assembly. They've got a chance. Before with Biden, they're feeling like this dread of, if he's going to lose by 5 or 6 points, we're in trouble in Wisconsin and elsewhere.
Right, and also that we know coming up next week is Vice President Kamala Harris will be coming back here to Wisconsin. She's going to be in Eau Claire on Wednesday, and it's going to be with her soon-to-be named, or I should say yet-to-be-named, VP pick. Of course, there is a short list. She's going to have a lot of rounds of interviews and to make this decision. But this announcement also comes as we've seen a lot of circuits also flood through the state. U.S. Department of Transportation Secretary Pete Buttigieg, who is also on the VP short list, was in Milwaukee this past week. He's visited the state a few times too, but also usually when these visits happen, the former president and the Trump campaign will respond. I know also a lot of people are keeping close tabs on when is his VP pick, J.D. Vance, going to be coming here to the battleground state, so something to watch for.
And with who Harris picks, does this person, I'll say he because almost every finalist is a white male, does he bring some, I don't know, something to Wisconsin? I mean, Josh Shapiro from Pennsylvania. They're talking to be a Rust Belt type governor. Can he appeal to Wisconsin? Tim Walz is right next door. I mean, you go on the list of like the pluses and minuses of all the potentials, but do they change the dynamic in Wisconsin? I don't know. I mean, most of the time with a VP pick, you want somebody who's going to do no harm. J.D. Vance with the childless cat lady comment didn't help the Trump campaign. That's an example of what you don't want to do as a VP nominee. So can this person come in and help Kamala Harris in Wisconsin and other key states?
And looking ahead to next week, the same day as Harris will be visiting the state is going to be the release of a new Marquette Law School poll, which you previously mentioned. And this is, carries a little bit more weight than other past polls because it is the first time that we'll see a glimpse of how Harris is performing with Mr. Trump. And also, you always have to go beyond just the head-to-head matchups because where are they at with favorability, right? And it's also going to be curious about how favorable is J.D. Vance here in Wisconsin with voters.
Again, as a VP pick, do no harm. for Kamala Harris. How are people viewing her? Where is she at? We saw one poll this past week that had her 49-50 for favorable, unfavorable. In the Marquette poll, going back to, I think, 2019, she'd been underwater most of the time, except for 2 polls. The last one in like mid-2022, she was at like more than half of voters had an unfavorable opinion of her. Has that shifted because of all this positive attention? And now she's the one out front. She's not behind Joe Biden, she's out in front doing everything. Has that changed perception of her as a candidate?
Well, my money is on that it's going to be a close one, and it's likely going to be within the margin of error. All right, well, that will do it for this week. Thanks so much for joining us.